this is another really good like news op this weekend. The people who thought that those 5 people who were imploded at the bottom of the ocean did it to fake their own deaths or something. It's all fake. It's all fake. It's all just a distraction. It's all just a distraction. They're like, time to write a new script and distract people from, the hunter is not paying his taxes, I guess.
Right. It's always like distracting people. Again, like stakes totally out of whack. I guess it's like distracting people from the Hunter Biden stuff or like the fact that San Francisco and New York are bad. Like that's the thing that the Matrix is concealing.
Even though the only reason these people know about this shit is because the Matrix has fed it to them through the same algorithm sluice pump that everybody else is feeding from.
Did you see that Meek Mill got in on the submarine is fake thing?
No.
It was good. He was like, I don't know, guys. Rich people don't move like that. Something's up.
I mean,
a rich guy wouldn't just get on a submarine.
That was the attitude. It was like, would these billionaires really do something like that? They're too busy working on other things. And it's just like,
these guys, that shows these guys are not Wikipedia warriors. If you are, as I am, a fan of the category missing people from the years 2000 and onward, half of that category is like ultra wealthy people. Half of that category is like, someone who made $200 million inventing, a precursor to Skype, flying a weather balloon up so high that his head exploded and never being found again.
You say that, Felix, but like, could this not also be evidence that the ultra rich are receiving advance warnings of some global catastrophe or extinction level event and are just faking their deaths to sort of calmly and without too much fanfare migrate to the survival bunkers in New Zealand?
That's it's definitely possible. But then I would counter that there's clearly like no warning system for ultra rich people in other countries for when their hot dog guy is going to rebel against them.
Also, like, wasn't Jack Ma AWOL for like a year? Nobody knew where he was.
Yeah.
Like, this guy would not have this. Who the fuck is this guy? The Pakistani guy is apparently like he owned all of the food in Pakistan, but like globally, he's not that famous. Like, he could have pieced out kind of gradually, but I guess like they're all going to kill themselves to signal their escape. But here's the thing: it's the fundamental like problem with this worldview is that it's all premised on the idea that if people knew, something would be different. Like, they're like, oh, if the rich people just started to go to New Zealand and get in their bunkers right in front of us, we would stop them. No, you wouldn't. They would do it. They don't need to do this. They can just say, hey, we're going to the bunkers. What are you going to do to stop them? Oh, what if people knew about Hunter Biden? They fucking know. They don't care. Like, nobody has any ability to affect anything. So you can do whatever you want right in front of their fucking face. And some of them will entertain themselves with notions that there is some way out of this by fantasizing that if they just post a little more about it, it's going to create some sort of trigger chain reaction of consciousness raising in the population that's going to just tip the balances of power. When in fact, everybody is in this together. We're all on the deck of the ship playing fucking Nearer My God to Thee. And we're all enjoying the way down one way or the other, however we feel, however what's best for us. And for this guy, the guy who did the ship, it was the fantasy that he had cracked the basic physics of putting a submarine deep into under the water. Like, he made this thing that was designed to kill everyone. It was a murder.
The thing
capsule.
About the carbon steel,
he made it out of carbon fiber, which cracks under pressure and which gets worse with extended pressure, and which he bought discount from Boeing because it had passed its sell-by date for use as an airplane, which generally go into areas with much lower pressure than as opposed to going to the deepest pressure we can find.
5,000 feet!
Dear Lord, that's over 150 atmospheres of pressure. How many atmospheres can the ship withstand? Well, it's a spaceship, so I'd say anywhere between 0 and 1.
It's like he read that carbon fiber is stronger than steel, and he was just like,
Whoa.
I'm not using steel. I'm using something even stronger than steel.
That is
Except it shatters under pressure, which is like if you're sending something 3,000 meters below the fucking...
Everyone has bought their own bullshit at every level of the Matrix. That's extended point. It's total, complete belief. Our elites used to, until very recently, amongst themselves, they all knew, they wouldn't even necessarily even have to say it to one another, that all this stuff is bullshit. Like all these like ideas of civilization that we're supposed to represent. We represent our own self-interest, and that we use these institutions to protect that at the very top where we live. Now we have people who have been fully ideologized to the very tippy top. People have fully endorsed in their minds the truth of every bullshit nostrum of capitalist development that exists as a collective, a lie agreed upon to push the rock of civilization up the hill. And there's supposed to be somebody at some point in this machine who knows how much of this is bullshit and is operating by some independent understanding of their self-interest. But we have suicidal believers, jihadists at every level of power.
The United 93 species is what we're at now. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think the Titanic submersible story is still interesting to me. And it's interesting because of like the spate of sort of meta-analysis of the reaction to this event, where people are holding it up as some sort of like, as like the example of how the internet has sort of like stolen our souls and made us all into demons, or people are questioning, why did so many people make fun of, 5 people dying in such a horrible way? And then like there was all these kind of specious analysis of this that I think people, there are people defending making fun of it by talking about like, oh, like if you can't understand why people who struggle to pay rent are like, having a chuckle at like these rich dickheads dying in such a fashion, then you don't understand. They're like, and then people are saying, oh, that's bad. It's just this back and forth. And I think what people are missing here is the very like, this story is funny in a very basic way that I think everyone understands about all comedy. Hubris. This is about hubris. First as what? Tragedy. The Titanic itself, then as farce. It's a very simple comic formula that I think people are overlooking. And I gotta say, we said that like, maybe like, like there's a certain, we have a certain admiration for these people who were explosively imploded at the bottom of the ocean. But I got to say, like, the CEO of this company is really fucking evil because it's about money. And they were trying to attract high profile people to promote their company. And like you could say, oh yeah, like they signed away their lives or whatever, and they were trying to do something extraordinary, but they were taking money from these people, like the Pakistani guy and his son who was 19 years old. They were taking money based on safety claims that were entirely unfounded, and of which many, many people were ringing the alarm bell about. So, I mean, like that is the tragic and evil part of this story. But the funny aspect of it is just like it's a simple story of hubris and irony. That's it.
Indeed. Almost too perfect, like many news stories these days seem to be. Like, what are we even left to say? And so then that's why, because there's nothing left to say, you have to have a meta conversation about how should we react to it, because there is no comment to be made. There's just jokes. And so it becomes, okay, should you make jokes? Because we can't even conceive of ourselves as like the subjects of history. We are only acted upon. And so the only thing that like really ignites us like as a moral question that's meaningful when we're debating in the public agora is how should I responsibly react to someone else doing something? That's it.
Can I just say that like I was pretty much sick of the submarine story since it started. Like there's nothing I hate more than like a movie or even a real world event that's like, oh no, a guy is trapped in nature. Who gives a shit?
You didn't like 127 hours?
Sucks. Revenant sucks. All that shit sucks. Go to a fucking hotel.
Revenant is bad.
Like, I don't care. But my least favorite thing about this has been like the people that are like, what happened to empathy?
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up. Like it's people do this with every like 10th news story. Like they're everything they post is just like, there should be an AIDS tournament. Here's my top 10 countdown of people being killed by police. Here's the funniest blood spatter patterns. And then like every 10th news story, it's like, we're living in hell and we're the demons. We're out of empathy. It's like a new form of troll's remorse. It's just completely insufferable. But this was like, I guess for like a lot of people, this was like their 1 in 10 thing where they were going to bring up that like the internet's a horrible place where people say terrible things.
I mean, if you're asking, where is our empathy as a society? Felix, that makes me think of, you guys remember the like a week or two ago when the news story about how Elizabeth Gilbert self-canceled her new book because it takes place in Russia? Because there was like reader backlash about like, you don't release a book. It's like, an anti-Soviet portrayal of Russia in the 20th century. And she self-canceled it because readers were like, it's bad to publish a book. You shouldn't be telling Russian stories now. And Felix, it brought to mind your comment about how you've never seen an Iraqi demand that no story feature an American ever again. But like, the Iraq War killed about 1 million people. Like, where the fuck is our empathy? Like, everyone's just forgotten about that now.
Right.
No one gives a shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, at this point, like, no one has ever wanted to think about this. But, like, this shit where it's like, Russia shouldn't be allowed, like, no Russian athletes should be allowed to compete in any, like, Olympics or Olympic qualifiers or any type of, like, international sporting competition. And, like, no Russians should be able to enter Europe. Whenever I see like Americans proudly trumpet that, it's like, shouldn't that rubric be applied to us? Like what? Like if you're going to apply that to Russia, hasn't America met that like 1,000 that criteria 1,000 fucking times over? The justification always is like, oh, there aren't enough. Like there isn't enough will in Russia against the war. Not enough people are protesting, and couldn't that just completely work with America?
I mean, Osama bin Laden's like I guess ethical justification for killing all those civilians in the World Trade Center is that America's a democracy, and its people are responsible for the conduct of its government. Look, I don't think that doesn't make him a mass murderer, but food for thought. At least when it comes to the empathy arms race, and who is responsible for what stories get told.
Well, yeah. I mean, empathy it's another word morphed by online, and empathy just means like now just like pointing out that other people are cruel.
Yeah, that is the case. I mean, I do kind of wonder though, did she just write a real shitty book that she kind of didn't want to publish, or maybe she couldn't finish it?
It sounded really bad.
Because like I could see someone like, oh, you know what? Thanks to this, because of my sensitivity to Ukrainians, I'm not going to publish this book. And then it's just like, now we don't have, it's the same reason people complain about how wokeness ended their careers. Everyone's looking for an alibi in the culture war for why their lives are not exactly what they want them to be, or they can't do what they want to do. I can't finish this book. I would have, but for the fucking Russians, whatever the fuck. Or, you know what? Maybe she actually does think it's a good book and she really did that. I wouldn't have thought that before, but the fucking guy got in the submarine. That's what I can't get my head over. It's like, it's one thing when you're the evil mine executive signing off on weakened safety regulations that might very well lead to catastrophic loss of life. You're not doing that and then going out on Monday with a fucking pick and a fucking headlamp and getting down in the mine anymore. You are not safe from that, the consequences of that. He did it. He got in there. He believed in his carbon fiber death pit. Pill, whatever the fuck.
Death pill.
Like
it looked like a pill.
Suppository, honestly.